Hmm. Hi, everybody. How you doing? I enjoy my wearing my mask now that I got my watch on it. Okay, what did I do with those things? Oh boy. Hang on a second. Where are they? Huh. Well, hey, Junior and Paul, how you guys doing? Um, I thought I had some watches out here. Maybe I put them away. I can't believe it. I took care of something. Um, oh, hey, Clyde, how you doing, man? I'm glad you're getting better. Hi, Mila. Lockdown 3 for London. Paul, what does lockdown 3 mean? And boy, what is. Hi, Hughes. Oh, Bruce. Third lockdown. Oh, man. We, we, we had, I used to go out once a week with a friend and we'd meet for coffee at Starbucks. And then when Starbucks, they closed it or something because of the pandemic, then we went to this other place. And finally, both of us just gave up. It's just too bad. We're just going to wait till this whole thing is over. For you guys who missed it, there's my new my new mask, the one that's fun to wear because I got my watch on it. I incurable show off. Hey, Abdul, how are you? Underachiever, good to see you. I say go 5 and shoveled out. No, we have you should have seen it. We had over a foot of snow. It was cold. During the snow, it was cold all day yesterday. It was well below freezing. And today we had beautiful sunshine, but it was still pretty cold. So, but we had a plow. We got a guy that comes and plow it for it. Just a little too much. Hey, Forbin, what's up? If we all wore a watch on the outside of our mask, we could tell the time, and we might get to say, "Gee, that a quadrille stranger." Oh God. Oh, let's see. Okie doke. All right, let's get started today. One of the things that I sort of had, mainly talking with everyone this morning, I had a few things that I realized. Hi, Amatrice, how you doing? And one of them is that we talk about fashion watches, and a fashion watch is essentially, somebody throws a logo on a quartz and, like Burberry or something like that, and just sort of throws it onto a cheap mechanical. And the thing of it is that that's sort of why fashion watches have a really bad reputation, at least among collectors. Now, the other thing is that I realize is that we probably should distinguish between fashion watches and fashion house watches. A fashion house would be like, like you take Cartier, for example. They were more of a jeweler than a fashion house. Hermes is a better example, but then they came out with these really great watches. Let's see who else. Oh, Van Cleef and Arpels, a famous jeweler. And anyway, there are a number of them. Let's see, Louis Vuitton, Bulgari, a lot of these fashion houses. And people see them. I've heard people say, "Oh, well, that's a fashion watch," and it's not. And there's a huge difference between a fashion watch and a fashion house watch. There's like Chanel. Chanel owns 20% of FP Journe. They also have gone into a deal with Tudor for a new movement making outfit, I think I said La Sentière, but I'm not positive if it could be La Chaux de France, one of those places in Switzerland, on land owned by Rolex. So, you've got, so you have a fashion watch, and that's just sort of anything that's, thrown together with a fashion logo on it. And then there's a fashion house watch. And I realized is that other than saying Chanel on the J12, there's, nothing that really ballyhoo the fact that it's Chanel. On the other hand, it's got a very different style. This is my Daniel Roth. I've been wearing that today. And the major distinguishing aspect of it is the shape of the case and the lugs and so forth. But it's got what is it? El Primero movement in it. A great movement, but still it's not something that Daniel Roth made. And it's sort of like some of the things I thought, well, we talk about micro brands and we talk about fashion watches. And then there's sort of two other categories. One is sort of, I guess, watches like Omega and Rolex. And then you have watchmaker watches like FP Journe and Carré Vuitton and Laurent Ferrier. These are, we can identify the watch with the watchmaker. And in fact, Roger Dubuis is another one. Daniel Roth, of course, is another. Anyway, so I thought, maybe we really ought to rethink this. This morning, one of the guys told me when we talked about Harry Winston, excellent example. Word right. And they pronounce it really funny. I call the Bulgari. They don't call it Bulgari. They call it Bulgare, something like that. Anyway, we know what we're talking about. Anyhow, these are some of the things that we have to sort of consider. Faberge. Does Faberge make a watch that's not a fashion watch? Oh, good God, yes, they do. Of course they do. They were one of the first ones to use the Agengraph movement. Yes, they do. Hi, Derek. Rohit, how you doing? Let's see. Now there's who else? Hey, Mark, how you doing? Good to see you. Paul, let's see. Okay, hi, Hobby. All right, Bulgari, yeah, probably. I see you're feeling better. That's good. Hey, Geezer, how you doing? Rohit, Forbin. Forbin had the greatest idea. I think I told you guys the other day. Use when you start putting your watch together, use a top of a shoebox especially one with big sides, and so you can do your in there, and when a hand or a screw or something goes flying, you can keep it in the box top. Okay, let's talk about some of these differences. We have I started with a micro brand, and I think micro brand, the definition that somebody threw together without really thinking, well, if they make between 200 and 5,000 watches a year, they're considered a micro brand or some stupid thing like that. And the reason I say it's stupid, you take someone like Roger Smith. He was 12, 13 watches a year, something like that. The same is true for Carré Vuitton and FP Journe, I think, is under 900 a year still. They're not micro brands. I mean, that concept of simply numbers is for people who aren't. I don't think they really understand watches. I mean, you say, you get, here's an FP Journe and here's one by brand X. This is a micro brand and this is a micro brand. I don't think so. And so that was one of the things that I think a better way of looking at micro brands is they're very much sort of an entrepreneur brand. And then this is some guy or guys, and I say, hey, sort of like what we were thinking about too. And we can think about again in next October when we sort of, go back to the original plan of creating a jumping hours and retrograde minutes on a really what is a bespoke movement. I mean, now that's like none of us have that kind of talent. And we're hoping that we can cobble together something that's affordable and then have a Boot and Lannon and Callan case to it. And, whatever whatever we can do on the dial, what we can find on that. I was hoping for an enamel dial, and I'll have to check with the guy that we have here and see what he thinks. I don't know whether it'll depend on the size and a lot of other things. Okay, so anyway, so going back to this is that if we looked at sort of certain micro brands as Ophium, I think is one example. And if you look at what Ophium did, they got a really super good case for it. They have the Boot and Lannon and Callan case. I forgot who did the dial for them. Now the movement is a techno time movement that had been sort of, I think, somehow revived by Soprod, or Soprod and cahoots with Festina, who owns them. But anyway, wasn't like, let's just get a Solita or something like that. It's sort of an ETA clone, but they really did something a little different. And so, but still, they're in the same boat as someone who just, sort of like, well, let's knock together this, and we'll, don't worry about the movement too much, but we'll make it look pretty and see if we can sell it. So that's sort of, to me, that would be a micro brand. Now, the levels that they have of a micro brand, some of them I think are very good. Ophium being one of the good ones. Benjamin Chi, I think, is doing some. Keep forgetting the name of his company. I don't know about Meng. Meng is one that they're based in Kuala Lumpur, and I think they're different Mengs. There's one Meng who is a candidate to join the AHCI, which is an independent watchmakers group, and then there's another guy who's sort of he understands the watch business. I'll put it that way. Okay, so that's sort of what I want to go around. Hi, Pina Hugo. I usually associate the term micro brand to new brands that follow the direct-to-consumer approach. Baltic and Yima come to mind. Okay. Hi, Crappy. Hi, Offline Online. Yima. Is it Yima or Yerma? Yeah. Okay, the French one. I agree. I don't think that's a micro brand either. It's been around for quite a while. And they have some, a lot more. It's micro brand, I think, though, is one. I agree with Pino Hugo. It's sort of like it's new, and there's no well-known watchmaker associated with it. Or somebody who's on the way to becoming one. And so this is sort of like a different one. Like when Daniel Roth decided to start his company, it was after that he had been working with Breguet and the people who were sort of sponsoring him in that, they went bankrupt or something, the Chalumet brothers, and some other kinds of things happened. But he had worked for, I think, good God, 12, 14 years with Audemars Piguet, and then he worked with Breguet for 8 to 10 years, something like that. And then he went off on his own. And so by the time that he was making watches like this, he'd been already doing it for some, 20, 25 years. And I think if you look at the other ones that are identified as watchmaker brands, with really, master watchmakers doing the work, you'll see that. Now there are a lot of exceptions to it, and I think one of the biggest ones is Moritz Grossmont, the German watchmaker. What happened there? A woman who came from a family of watchmakers named, I think, Christina Hutter, Hutter, Hutter. Not sure how you pronounce it. But what she did, she wanted to sort of have sort of the spirit of Maurice Grossmont in her watches. And somebody posted today what Maurice Grossmont did is that they begin highlighting the people who did the finishing and some of the other people who are working on it. And so what you're looking at is you're seeing some real talent, even though Maurice Grossmont he was long gone before they even started this sort of restarted the brand in Germany. 310 to Yerma. You're feeling better. Okay, let's see. No, they are a historical French brand. Okay, historical, but brought back to life. Yeah, this is something else too, is that there are different ways that they can do it. I mean, you take, for example, you take Breguet. Breguet was sort of stumbling along. I think they had something they called the Classique, and then they had the Type 20, but they were not, most of the other watches were sort of, mundane watches that they had. And that was when they brought in Daniel Roth, and then he started creating all these incredible watches that look very much like one would expect that Abraham Breguet would have done. So, anyway, so this is sort of something I think the reason I wanted to talk about this is that it's one of those things that I don't think has been discussed very much, because otherwise, if somebody sees an Hermes and it's got a Vasaron movement with a module by Agenor, and you just want a grand prize with it, that's the same as some kind of watch that somebody slapped on a Burberry logo. They're so different that they probably, I think one would be a fashion house brand perhaps, as opposed to just a fashion watch. And most of the fashion house watches, if you take Hermes, you take Cartier, and you take some of these other ones, they're doing some really interesting things horologically. Okay, what's up? Okay. Hey, Richard, how you doing? Very pleased with my Ophion Villas. Great. Like Miguel's philosophy and have a salmon dial. Yeah, that's a very cool one. Yeah, Ophion was one of those brands that the more I found out about Ophion, the more I liked them. I mean, these are guys who really love watches. They don't happen to have a guy on staff who's a real watchmaker, but there are a lot of ways they could do it to save money, but they didn't. And I think they came up with a watch that's not like your typical micro brand. If you look at a typical micro brand and you look at the watch, I mean, you look at the movement especially, you don't find a lot of stuff. Some of them, I think, like Ben Chi. I forgot the name of Ben Chi. What Ben Chi is calling his company now. He used to have a Atelier Minerva or something like that. But what he did, now he was using Vasaron movements. And so he has, really good prices. And so you get a Vasaron movement. So you're getting like $1,000 plus movement just in that watch. And then he had, I think he worked with Vasaron to make the case for him too. So he's got this matching case and movement, which is, that's a nice watch. Hi, Britt. How you doing? Oh, God. Clyde, see what you've done, Clyde? You got Britt talking about, 310 to Yerma. Oh, boy. Squally is a Phoenix brand. Well, a Phoenix, I mean, if by a Phoenix brand, you mean one that sort of went away and then came back again. Yeah. You know, one of the best examples of that is Beauvais. Because Beauvais, I have a Monoretrapont Beauvais from sometimes in the late 30s, early 1940s, and I got it new old stock, and so it's in pretty good shape. But I was trying to find out about who has the patent on the Monoretrapont, and it was somebody who was still from the Beauvais family. Boy, I forgot in Fleurier, or in the area around Fleurier where they had the original one. And they weren't really doing too much at all. And then they sort of disappeared. And then Pascal Raffi came along and wanted to do in the same way that Christine Hutter wanted to do with Maurice Grossmont, is to really bring them back to the kind of quality that was associated with the name. And both of them did it. You know, the only thing that surprises me about Maurice Grossmont is that her company hasn't won a Grand Prix yet. Her stuff is Grand Prix quality, that I can say. But sometimes you have a really great watch, they put it into the Grand Prix, and the category they put it in is full of really great stuff. Dubin, Dubinthi, Berthold, FP, all of these other guys, and they're competing against them. And it's not so much they lose, it's that they never had a chance in the first place. So the placement, I think, is very important, and understanding it. I think a band should die once its creator is not part of it anymore. Using the creator's name like a trademark has no meaning. Well, it can. It is that there's certain styles and, let's say, a culture of that may be set up. You take, for example, F.P. Journe. We talking about him this morning. He threatens everyone, look, guys, I'm going to die pretty soon. He's only 60 something. I think he's in the early 60s. And he said, you know, after I die, my watch is going to be worth a lot more. And I thought, oh, boy, you know, all right, I better run out and get one. The thing that he did, though, that's sort of interesting is he sold 20% to Chanel. Now, after F.P. Journe, I don't know, goes to the great wine tasting in the sky or wherever you go, his name is so connected in his style and everything else, the way of doing things. I think it's fine to keep the name. It has meaning in the sense that any culture that they've. I think the same is true with Breguet. So anyway, Tiffany and Co. You know, Tiffany and Company do a mix of fashion and higher end. Even made a few divers in the 90s. Yeah, offline, online. Yeah, Tiffany, a number of years ago at a watch show I was at, there was a Patek Philippe or Tiffany's little sort of boothette that they had. And they were talking about the relationship that Tiffany's had with Patek Philippe at one time. So you got a Tiffany's, you were getting a Patek Philippe. However, one of my favorite watches that they made recently was called, I think it's called the East-West. And the East-West watch is sort of this long, narrow watch. I just thought it was very cool. But it's got a Sellita in it, and they don't even tell you that. They have the quartz version of it. They just, of course, they say quartz, but on the automatic version, they go to great lengths not to let you know what's inside. And so, you know, there's so many good things and so many straight up entrepreneurs. They're just trying to make a quick buck with throwing a watch together and having a lot of talk about it. Hi, Incum, how are you? Vasaron Constantine Quadrille has 10-bar water resistance. Since 2016, I contacted VC director and has confirmed this by 2 different people. That's one of my favorite watches. I love the Quadrille, but I'm not going to be going anywhere near whether it's 10 bar pressure or water. Um, he was okay. A Phoenix watch meeting that the founder was thrown out of the University of Phoenix. Not all micro brands are created equal. I think Baltic is doing. Oh yeah, no. You're right, Penna Hugo. That was. I agree completely. They're not all the same. Some of them, like I said, are somebody figures a way to make a quick buck. Other ones, like Ophium, really did a lot of stuff. I think that made their watches more interesting, and I think also worth more. And the price is so good. There's another company that everyone was giving me a hard time about this morning. It was MV something or other. I forgot what it was, but that was not. Hughes, some fashion watches have influenced the watch industry in very significant ways, more than some much more respected brands. I agree. I agree 100% with that. They've done some stuff that was so creative. Some of my favorite watches have been some of the things that, well, you take Van Cleef and Arpels. They won a bunch of awards for things to get Agenor to do these wonderful modules for them to do this stuff. But you take these Suspendu that from Hermes, where you have the time suspended. Just such an incredibly romantic watch, like you flip it here and says, okay, we're stopping time, babe. I love that idea. Matthew, hi, Matthew. In response to Amatrice, it's actually more normal for late watchmakers' names to be used than living watchmakers. Yeah, we keep running out of the modern ones. That's another thing too. We got some young guys coming up. There's that young French watchmaker who he entered into a very tough category. I think it was the chronometer category in the Grand Prix. He didn't win, but he made the first cut. And that's not easy, especially in that category. If you're in a category that hardly anyone is in, or you can win those sometimes without very much at all. Or one of the lesser ones, they sort of have like a participation prize if you get it for the certain, I think of the, what are they called? The bottom categories, not the Petite Aiguille, because some of the really great ones have come out of Petite Aiguille, but the one below that, Challenge watch, that's it, the challenge ones, the ones that are under 4,000. They've had some good ones come out of that too, but sometimes, I think that Breitling one too. The sports watches is another category that they sort of seem as not quite. Yeah, let's see. I wish FPGA made at least one affordable annual calendar watch. Yeah. I don't think. See, one of the problems, Mark, and I think you probably know this as well as anyone, is that these things, they don't knock them out fast. They have all this handwork done on them, and they just can't do that in an affordable way. Clyde, that was the name of it. MVMT. Everyone was saying like, they're really a bad one. I've heard of them, but I haven't paid any attention to them because, the way that they're marketed to me is so, I don't know, just doesn't appeal to me. Okay, it was a fashion watch that used push Swatch to stop selling ETA movements to third parties and led to a revolution in the OEM movement and in-house market. How about that? Hey, Tim, fashion watches Rolex. Is that right, Tim? You mean the Air King I want is a fashion watch, not a fashion house watch. So I have one of those Movado Zenith Museum piece, very cool looking quartz. I don't wear it anymore for my wife. It's my wife's watch now. If I have what did I get? I got one of my Jacquet 736 movements, and it was in a Dunhill, and it was a man's watch, but it was small enough that after I got a shiny green strap for it, it became my wife's watch, and it's in her collection. It looks better on her anyway, so that worked out. Google Zynga. Okay, equation of time. Ooh, I didn't know that. Yeah, there are some ones that are really surprised. Like there's actually, I think it's actually an in-house. Who's the guy that runs Ralph Lauren? There's a Ralph Lauren actual movement on one of his watches. But usually I think of Ralph Lauren watches, and that I see as a fashion watch. But he does have actually one that was his own. Uh-oh, it's frying pan time. Thank you, Clyde. This morning, see, you weren't here early this morning, and I actually went too long. Anyway, guys, not only is it frying pan time, it's time for me to put my mask back on, and off I go. Everybody be safe, and I'm glad that Clyde is well enough to join us again, and I will see you guys next time. Everyone be safe. I'll be having a very special little video on Tuesday for everyone too. Take care. Hey, John, sorry.